taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
God, I thought I loved you so. God, I thought I loved you so.
And it is Areva Martin in real time, the Friday edition. I'm Avi Bernard with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And I will be joined this hour by Erica Smith. But first, here's what you might have missed. The Trump indictment. The indictment outlining federal charges against former President Donald Trump for alleged mishandling of classified documents has been unsealed, revealing he's been charged with 37 felony counts. The document released today, which also names one of his aides, outlines criminal charges related to the over 100 classified documents federal agents recovered from Trump's Florida resort in August of last year. It accuses Trump of breaking 7 different laws, including 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information and single counts of false statements and representations, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document or record, corruptly concealing a document in a federal investigation, and a scheme to conceal. The indictment says the information Trump took with him when he left the White House included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for a potential retaliation in response to a foreign attack. And in response, top congressional Republicans have rallied behind Donald Trump, framing the former president's indictment as nothing more than President Joe Biden weaponizing his Justice Department against his likeliest 2024 political opponent. Kevin McCarthy said it was Biden who indicted Trump. It's not how that works. The Republican presidential field, by the way, they have not pounced on this opportunity. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, and several lower-tier candidates turned their criticism on the Justice Department, castigating federal law enforcement for years of investigations involving the twice-impeached and now twice-indicted Trump, who still faces separate investigations on other matters. Others, like Nikki Haley, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, remained silent or said they were waiting for more information to be released. A white woman accused of fatally shooting her black neighbor in Florida following a dispute over the victim's children was granted bond today. The woman, Susan Louise Lawrence, appeared in court days after she was arrested on charges of manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. The Marion County Sheriff's Office has said Lawrence, who is 58, had a long-standing neighborhood feud with the victim, A.J. Owens, about Owens' children playing in a grass field near her home. That feud culminated on June 2nd when authorities said Lawrence shot Owens, who was a 35-year-old mother of 4, through a closed door. And then there's this story that I'm looking forward to talking about with Erica Smith of the LA Times. One of her colleagues wrote about this story. This law firm, okay, this very powerful Los Angeles law firm, 2 of their top partners decided they were going to go out on their own and leave the law firm. And they did so, and in the reporting it says they did it with kind of a Jerry Maguire-esque inspiring speech to kind of get people to come with them as they left. And they took as many as 140 of that law firm's employees with them. And you know, they weren't very complimentary of the law firm on their way out. Okay, a little while later, the law firm says, check out these receipts we have. Years and years of emails that included racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, I'm going to read some of the specific things they said when we come forward, and it is amazing. And basically, those two lawyers, those two partners who decided to step out on their own and create their own boutique law firm, and they're really excited about it. Now, law firm is done. That's how bad these emails were. They've admitted to saying these things, and I can't wait to share with you what they said when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know that all City of LA renters have rights? Check out these 3 facts. Residential tenants can't be evicted without reason or just cause. Eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt due before March 31st, 2023. And you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice. 5 days. Many Angelinos may be at risk of losing their home, and that's why we want you to know your rights. Learn more at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
Moments like my daughter telling me a new joke mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative NBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time, and I'm very pleased to be joined by a friend of the show, friend of the city, Erica Smith, reporter for LA Times and columnist for LA Times. Welcome, Erica.
Thanks for having me on again.
Always a pleasure. So I want to start with this situation with the LA Times, your employer. And obviously, I know you can't share everything, but it's always sad to see layoffs, especially to fellow people in the media, and you and I, obviously, you being a reporter and a journalist, we know how hard you work, how hard you all work, and a lot of times for little to no credit. And so I just want to if you can give us the basics of what happened.
Yeah, so earlier this week, layoffs were, I should say proposed layoffs were announced, and I'll get into that in a second. But basically, there's a reduction of about 73 employees, about 57 guild representatives, which are basically people journalists within the newsroom. Other folks are probably managers or people from other departments. But so the reduction is about that much. The reason given has been about finances, that basically the same thing that's affected so many other news organizations, print, TV, otherwise. The financial situation is affecting us as well, which is not really surprising. I mean, anybody who's been in this field for more than a year or two knows that, journalism and media is always, somewhat on the brink because of the shift from what, at least in my particular industry, has been from print to digital, online. And what does that look like, particularly with the pandemic? And so the reason has been given in that. But I think, it's something that I think matters a lot to Los Angeles, in part because so many of the people, frankly, that are on the chopping block are people of color. A huge percentage of them are Latino. A huge percentage of them are Asian American. We as a news organization have been really trying to diversify. I mean, I'm not from Los Angeles, but I know very well the history that the LA Times has in the city, and particularly with communities of color. And I think a number of us there are really worked hard to try to rectify that as much as we possibly can in our current positions. And so we're really concerned in part because of that. But just the number of people that we plan to lose that, don't have a job anymore in this economy, which it seems to be getting rockier. So it's an ongoing process. The union that represents journalists in the newsroom is fighting back and hopes to save as many jobs as possible by presenting counter proposals. But it's an ongoing process.
What do those efforts to fight back from the union look like, and how effective might those be, or is it a lost cause?
Well, I don't think it's a lost cause. I think that, the LA Times for years, I think probably the majority of its existence did not have a union. One of the things that changed, the most recent change in ownership, was a unionization drive that actually, frankly, ignited, I think, unionization across the newspaper, forget the old-timey term, but newspaper industry, where you have a lot of newspapers that their employees have unionized and kind of pushed back for more workers' rights. And you can trace that, I think, probably to the broader labor movement we see right now overall, whether it's the Hollywood writers' strike to, the fight for 15 for fast food workers. I mean, there's just been this kind of this upswing in labor after years of corporations kind of, putting their boots on our proverbial necks for so many years. Mm-hmm. But, part of the contract allows us to negotiate these layoffs for a window of time. And basically what we're trying to do is to try to get the company to offer buyouts to other employees and basically trade. So people who want to take a buyout who've been there for years and years, then maybe we'd say the job of a younger employee who's kind of more the first in, first out, that would be required. And so we've had some minor success already. We hope to get the company to expand on that. As a union, we've had some success in finding other ways to work with our employer and cut costs, because we know, like I said, just like everybody else does, that media and the news industry is facing challenges financially. So we're aware of that. I just think it's a matter of trying to serve this community as best we can with journalism. And I think that, as we've seen with the, last year with the racist audio leak in city council, I mean, we need these reporters and people on the ground to kind of shed a light, because if it's not for us, if it's not for some of the other journalists and news organizations, if it's not for you, KBLA, we wouldn't have a lot of this information that we really need about our communities to really, keep people accountable.
We're speaking with Areva Smith of the LA Times. And finding a job is usually hard. It's almost always hard, especially in this economy and in the news business, given what you underscored with a lot of news organizations cutting staff and not having the revenue that they need to maintain their current level of employees. And it's hard to find a job in the best of circumstances, but the more notice you have, the more notice you're given of potentially losing your job, the better chance you have of being able to withstand that loss and having time to find a job to replace that income. How much notice were these employees given, and when are the layoffs effective?
Well, it's kind of different for different classifications of employees. So, for example, people who qualified as managers who weren't covered by our union contract, they were out pretty much immediately. So
Wow.
people were notified on, I think it was Tuesday, and they were out, by the end of the day. And, we're still, as an organization, we're still mostly not back in our office. So these are people who probably never weren't in the office when they got notified. They got notified by phone, by a manager. Not everybody's notification went smoothly. There was one person who heard about it through another coworker and had to call her manager to confirm that she was laid off. When you're doing stuff remotely like this, it's never good, and it never goes smoothly. It's not an excuse, for anybody that it never does, but it's adds extra pain to it. But then there's another window for people who, there's a couple of weeks, maybe more the end of the month, that they actually have to close the door. And that's that window that's guaranteed as part of our guild contract. And so, right now there's just a lot of hurt, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of confusion. One of the biggest questions that we have as a union is how we're going to actually, frankly, just kind of function, because the number of the employees that are targeted for layoffs are in our online space. So all the stuff that we use to kind of get our information out there to readers, those are the people that are being targeted. So we're like, how are we supposed to continue to, be relevant in this age, in this era of Instagram and TikTok and everything else, if we don't have the people that are specialized in that? So, yeah, there was a lot of no's for a lot of people. Hopefully we'll be able to, claw some back. But it's rough,
So just to be clear, some people found out that they were losing their job on the same day that they lost, and they had to be at their job was over that day. There was just no notice at all.
Yep, I mean that was the notice. Yep, because they are, that's their, they don't have any protections as managers, basically.
Wow. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that's it. I mean, I can't imagine being in that shoes, and I hope don't have to one day. But yeah, it's rough for anybody, not just in our industry, but anybody who gets laid off and has to be gone the same day. And that's, of course, not just in newspapers. That happens in industries across the board.
And you mentioned something really important. A lot of news now is digital. It's not the same as it used to be, where the majority of people reading the newspaper are getting it delivered to their door, or they're getting it from a newsstand, or they're getting a physical copy from one of those little vending machine, those newspaper vending machines you put a quarter in and you can open it up and take like 3 of them if you want to. That's not really how things work anymore. For the most part, there are still newsstands, and so but most of the people reading are reading online. And so why do you think it is that most of the staff is digital? You'd think that would be the staff that they would want to protect. Is it because those are the newer employees?
That's a good question. It's a question we frankly don't have an answer to. There's a lot of speculation as to why that is. We had an all staff meeting, as it were, via Zoom, as we do these days. And we didn't get really a lot of answers to that. I think that, come next week, I think that's one of the things that I think union leadership and the rest of employees really want to nail down. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't even frankly subscribe to our print paper. I haven't read print paper in, I could not tell you how long. And I date myself. I got into this industry in 2000, but it hasn't operated on a print centric, as much as outside people might like to think that. Like, we don't. We try to, when I write columns, I write to what's going on at the moment, not to what's going to happen next Tuesday or what's going to happen next Thursday.
Right.
So it's, we very much try to be of the moment. I mean, we're a news organization. We don't write magazines. So, so we got to keep up with what's going on. And I think there's some real concern that a lot of these cuts will affect our ability to do that. So it's a real area of deep concern for all of us that are left.
Yeah. We're speaking with with Erica Smith of the LA Times. And we're talking about the layoffs at the LA Times, and it's really remarkable, that so many employees were notified the same day that they're going to be losing their jobs. I was producing a show for Fox not Fox News. And I was told I received a call from the general manager himself. Called me and said, "Listen, we don't have the funding to continue this particular show, so we're gonna have to, some people are gonna be laid off, and you're one of those people." And so, but I had a month. He said, "This is good. The show's gonna end in a month," and that month was so crucial. And it's never good to lose a job, but if you have a little bit of time at least to get your bearings and find what you're gonna do. I mean, because even the process of applying for a job takes weeks. If you're gonna really get your stuff, unless you have everything ready, which most people don't, because they're so focused on doing that job effectively and being good at that job, and especially, the biggest news paper on the West Coast. You're gonna give everything you have to that job. You're probably not 1 foot out the door getting your resume ready. So just that aspect of finding out the same day it's so heartbreaking. I can't imagine that, and it's just horrible. But I want to talk about something else you said about a lot of the people being laid off being minorities, and how hard that you and others have worked to diversify the paper and bring a different diverse lens to the news. And so what is it? Why is it that, or what's your take on that? Why are so many of the layoffs minorities?
I think it's in part because of the departments that were targeted. I think a lot of the employees there are younger, probably under 30. And I think there are a lot of people that we frankly have hired in the last 3 to 4 years as we've expanded our digital online divisions. And so these are people of color that have, gravitated towards these positions and have done, I think, really well. I enjoy working with them. I learn things from them all the time. But it's, it's problematic, right? Like, it's problematic because this is, as a city, Los Angeles, as California, like, we are a state with, of people of color, like, and we need people that speak Spanish. We need people that understand the Black community. We need people that understand the API community. And when you start cutting people who come from those communities, who know how to cover stories, don't have to learn about things on the fly, but when something happens, they understand it intuitively because that's their community. Those people are invaluable, whether they're, like me, writing the stories in the columns, or the photographers, or the people behind the scenes who are writing, frankly, the stuff that most people will see that will get them to click on the photos and the stories, which is the stuff you see on Instagram and the stuff you see on TikTok. I mean, if that's going to get people to read our stuff and it comes across as culturally incompetent, we're going to get made fun of. And that has also happened at the LA Times. And so I think it's extremely important. And I think of all the things to be particularly bothered by, I think that all of my colleagues, regardless of race and ethnicity, are very bothered by the fact that so many of the employees are being targeted for layoffs are Asian American and Latino. Yeah,
that's horrible to hear. And so what? I know you mentioned that the union is fighting back, and you're hoping to stop the bleeding a little bit, so to speak, and maybe maybe get some people back. But what's the next step in the process?
Well, we're negotiating. We also, the other thing is, in the midst of all this, we are actually negotiating our contract has expired, and we've been negotiating with the company to re-up our contract, which this also did not come up in contract negotiations, these layoffs, so which has also added another level of anger to the union. But I think the next step, coming next week and then the week after that, is really to get the company to hopefully roll back on some of its proposals, to work with the union to find ways to meet whatever budget hole they're trying to fill, and also to really publicize this thing. I mean, I think that, we've seen with other strikes that are happening in the city right now, in the county right now, we've seen a lot of public support. And I think it's important because I do think that, we, particularly in Los Angeles, we are a city of working class folks, people that depend on jobs, and, housing's expensive. I mean, everything's expensive. And so, I think this is a city of workers, and I think that there is going to be an effort you'll see on behalf of the Guild, which is our union, to really talk about this and to publicize this, and, to talk about what we do and why it's important to the community, and why we want a living wage and you want to maintain our jobs just like everybody else in Los Angeles.
Such a tumultuous time for unions in general. You got the Writers Guild of America currently on strike, been on strike for weeks. You know that you mentioned the challenges that your union is facing. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. I voted to authorize a strike, and the strike has been authorized, and hopefully it's not necessary, but it's possible. The Directors Guild narrowly avoided a strike. And it just underscores the importance of unions. And I'm really sorry to hear about all these layoffs, and I really appreciate you being willing to share with us, some of these details. And I do think that the people of LA are with you, and hopefully, enough of them can find out. And are there any actions that the people of LA can take to help you all?
There will be. We have not. I think we're still reeling from the news this week, but next week I think we'll be on a little bit more of our how to get more people involved. So I would just, look out for that. I think you'll see it. You'll start to see stuff bubble up on social media and things like that.
Well, we'll definitely keep up with you on that aspect so we can be of any service that we can. And when we come forward, though, Erica, I do want to get your thoughts on this Trump indictment. It came down yesterday, and today it was unsealed. And I think the first word that comes to mind is wow. And so I want to get your thoughts on that, and also the story from one of your LA Times colleagues about this law firm. It is such an incredible story about these two guys, these two men at the top of these two white men at the top of this law firm, leaving the law firm unceremoniously, taking some employees with them, and then just the stuff that came out about them. I'm gonna read some of the things they said for everyone to hear, and we're gonna talk about those things when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Department of Justice is formally announcing charges against former President Trump.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation.
The charges are related to Trump's handling of classified documents. Trump is the first former U.S. president to face federal criminal charges.
Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world.
Meantime, one Republican leader is not coming to former President Trump's defense. Utah Senator Mitt Romney says the former president brought these charges upon himself. Romney said the Justice Department afforded Trump the time and opportunity to avoid charges that would not generally have been afforded to others. I'm Julius White on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Mid-City on the 10 eastbound of Fairfax Avenue still got that crash blocking the two right lanes. It is stopped from Centinela Avenue. Downtown LA on the 10 eastbound right at the 110. That earlier crash on the off-ramp has cleared. You're still going to see some slowing coming away from Hoover Street, though. And in Fountain Valley on the 405 northbound right at Brookhurst Street. Got a crash in that center divider area. It's going to be slow from the 73.
Summit Racing wants you to gear up your truck or Jeep for your next off-road camping adventure. With millions of parts in stock, you'll find off-road and outdoor essentials so you can camp confidently and comfortably. SummitRacing.com. Everything you need for anything you drive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tonight's Game 4 of the NBA Finals could be the last NBA game of the year in Miami. If so, the NBA missed out on an opportunity to let Florida Governor Ron DeSantis know that he's been committing flagrant fouls against African Americans and Black history. Here are some stats the NBA should have made some noise about during the finals. Since 2021, DeSantis has banned more than 500 books related to Black history in 21 Florida school districts. And just last month, DeSantis signed a bill that prevents Florida colleges from using federal and state funding on diversity and inclusion programs. 73% of NBA players are Black. The NBA has the power to send DeSantis a message to let him know he's out of bounds with his attack on Black culture. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
The party of the summer is back. The Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival returns on June 17th and 18th with an incredible lineup curated by Kamasi Washington and Herbie Hancock. See Kamasi himself, Belle Biv DeVoe, West Coast Get Down with Raphael Sadiq and Leon Bridges, St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Samara Joy, Diggable Planets, Poncho Sanchez, Aziza, The Soul Rebels with Big Frida, and many more. Hosted by Arsenio Hall. Get your tickets now at HollywoodBowl.com. Hollywood Bowl, forever summer.
The Heart of a Black Man, inspiring stories of triumph and resilience. Co-authored by 30 black men. Message of hope and empowerment. RSVP today at MalikBooks.com. Saturday, June 10th at 5 p.m. Westfield Culver City Mall. Come out and meet and greet 4 black men sharing their personal stories. Also, meet newly published co-author Malik Muhammad. Founder of Malik Books and book activist will be discussing and signing his chapter, From Devastation to Elevation. Saturday, June 10th at 5 p.m. RSVP today at MalikBooks.com. Westfield Culver City Mall. Come meet and greet co-authors Dr. Rael Sims, Cornell Ward, and Kendry Berry. Meet and greet book signing event, The Heart of a Black Man at MalikBooks.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. We are joined by LA Times columnist Erica Smith. That's Erica with a K if you want to look her up. And so, Erica, always appreciate having you here. I do want to get your thoughts on the Trump indictment. What were your thoughts when you found out about the indictment yesterday?
Well, I'm just first of all, it's about time. It's been, we've been talking about whether or not we're going to, indict Trump. Well, on something serious, I should say. I mean, I suppose not that the charges he's facing in New York aren't serious, but this is a whole nother thing. We're talking about, classified documents, nuclear secrets, capabilities of what would happen if somebody attacked the United States, what we would do in return. These are major, major things that apparently he kept in files next to the toilet in the bathroom in his estate in Florida. And, it's, with a bathroom with a chandelier in it, I should say, based on the photos. But it feels like this is something that was inevitable, that was coming. I suppose it was not inevitable, but it feels from watching that administration through the eyes of a journalist for the entirety of it, and the aftermath, it seems like this had to happen. And I'm very glad that it did. So it's going to be a different kind of spectacle now that he's running for president, and is not only that, but leading the field. And of course, we don't have any laws that bar a person who's been indicted for running for president. Right. So, that's going to happen. So this is going to be a very, things are just getting started, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, it is striking. You mentioned that this is something more serious, and it certainly is, but it's such a high bar though, because even his
Hmm.
other indictment, even it's for his other indictment in New York is for hush money payments, but that was those hush money payments helped him get elected. Everything is around him getting elected.
Hmm.
I mean, these newspapers were burying important stories that may have swayed just a few voters in just a few places, and that's all it would have taken to
Hmm.
for him to lose. And so he did that, and that's
Hmm.
that's considered the lesser of the charges of the indictments he's facing, and all of these, and we haven't even gotten to the Georgia one yet. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, all of these things, and I believe I remember seeing something from some Trump supporter saying, short of nuclear secrets, this is a nothing burger. And it is indeed nuclear secrets. Like, wow. I mean, just they're professional goalpost movers, and they can't move them fast enough because everything that they say, well, unless it's this, then it's fine. It ends up being that, and they still okay. Well, it's still fine unless it's this, it's fine. And so it's so crazy. But you have Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House, saying, you know, this is horrible. Biden is doing this. Biden is indicting Trump. Presidents don't indict people. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about the reaction from the Speaker of the House and congressional Republicans saying this is a hit job?
Well, I mean, it's patently untrue. I mean, of course, we have the attorney general and they're actually a special prosecutor that is doing that. But there's going to it's I think it's indicative of what's going to be the storyline throughout this process, which is seemingly the Republican Party is going to try to say that if not Biden, the Biden administration is going after Trump to take out his biggest potential rival in the 2024 election. And of course, that's untrue. Of course, it's more complicated than that. But we can't discount the number of voters who will agree with that, and we already see that on social media. People who are echoing this praise, and it's already become part of the lexicon about how people think about this. And so, it's just like everything else in our partisan split and our culture wars. Battle lines get drawn, and people have their own news sources that will back up what is the talking storyline of the day on the right. And, I think, general news, mainstream news sources will be more, nuanced about it. But, yeah, I mean, I think that this is something Biden is going to have to try to navigate. And, we've seen that he has not, he's keeping quiet about it, and he's not commenting about it, which seems pretty wise because, as you said, he really has nothing to do with it. But there's going to come a time, whether it's the first debate, whether it's before that, he's going to have to comment on it. And this is uncharted territory for the U.S., and so it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, do you see? You mentioned that Biden might have to bring this up during the first debate, and it's crazy that Biden has to keep quiet, and I think you're right about that. He does, but we all know that if the shoe was on the other foot, if Biden had been indicted for something while he was running against Trump, or if any Democratic candidate had, then Trump would be doing windmill dunks, talking about, "Oh my God, he's indicted. He is horrible. I told you he was corrupt, and the Democrats are all corrupt." I mean, it would never end. He would tweet about it every 5 minutes, or he would truth about it every 5 minutes on Truth Social, and now Biden has to be a little church mouse and not say anything and not use this to his advantage. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It's the way that our politics are skewed in favor of the right. It is so crazy how they can get away with so much, and we cannot get away. I mean, crazy liberal hacks like myself can't get away with anything near what they get away with. But on that note, though,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, somebody has to be the adult in the room, and I think the Democrats have fashioned themselves, for better or for worse, as the adult in the room, and this is what we get.
Yeah. What's such a prize? But I speaking of not pouncing on this opportunity, I want to get your opinion on the other Republican presidential candidates not jumping on this. They have not seized this opportunity so far to kind of validate many of their assertion that Trump is not electable, that there's too much baggage there, and it's too volatile of a situation to have him as your president again. None of them are doing that so far. Do you think that they should, or do you think that this is the right move on their part?
I mean, I don't. It's tough because, right? Trump, despite all of his legal trauma and troubles, is the front runner, and most of the base of the Republican Party, which are the people who are going to nominate, elevate somebody for their party to be the nominee, are big Trump supporters. I mean, once you get past that to the general election, it's a different story. But I think that all of the candidates are looking at who's going to have to vote for them, and they know that trashing Trump is probably not in their best political interest, and I think you see that. I think Mike Pence has tried to toe this weird line of saying it's bad what he did, but the Justice Department there's an overreach there, which I think is probably the best probably we're going to get out of most of these candidates. And I'm interesting to see if DeSantis kind of steps out on a limb and does something a little bit more robust as these charges go on. I mean, and he's got a particularly interesting situation because this is happening in his state.
Exactly.
And he is the number 2 behind Trump. He's the kind of the shadow candidate. And so he has the most to gain, but also the most to lose. And so I kind of feel like if anybody is going to do it, it might be DeSantis, or he might try to play it safe, and it might be somebody who has like zero chance at this moment, like Tim Scott, Republican in South Carolina, who tries to come out and, make some statement along those lines. So I don't know. I feel like one of these candidates is going to have to like say something a little bit more forceful. I just don't think they're going to do it right now. I think they're probably going to wait until some of the charges are, the hearing next week and seeing how these things play out. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, too, I think somebody like a Tim Scott could rationalize that, people think that storing nuclear secrets in a bathroom is a bad idea. I mean, I don't think that's too much of a leap, but we'll see.
Now, hey, you said Tim Scott doesn't have a shot. Come on. Tim Scott has a chance. No, yeah, Tim Scott.
A slim one. He does a slight one, but slight one.
Well, he has his chances are slim and none, and as they say, slim just left. But I do, I want to ask you, do you think that there's anything that could happen legally, even, you mentioned that Trump could go to jail and he could still run for president. Is there anything that could happen that would make Trump drop out of this race? Is there anything that could happen, whether it's him being convicted or him being sentenced and actually going to jail, or anything less than that, or just a straw that broke the camel's back situation with him getting indicted again and then maybe even getting convicted on multiple fronts? I think it's unlikely that it'll happen, but I'm just saying, I wonder, in your mind, just your opinion. Is there any combination of factors that would make Trump say, you know what, all right, I'm out. You guys can have it?
No, I mean, I just don't see that. I mean, if the one thing we've learned about Trump over the years is that he likes attention, and that, and the thing about this at this point, he doesn't really have much else to lose, right? I mean, he gets convicted, right? He goes to jail or he goes on house arrest. Okay. Say he doesn't get convicted, then he's free. I mean, if he's the first person who, I mean, imagine the thing that I just think about him as much attention as he loves, if he becomes the first man to win the presidency while being convicted of multiple felonies. I think there's a notoriety of that. I mean, it's like, nobody will ever forget the name Donald Trump, as long as this country is around. And, I don't think they'd forget it now, but I think that truly solidifies his place in history. And so I think there's a part of him that just likes that. And again, I mean, what else is he got to lose? What else is he going to do? Like, if he drops out of the race, he's just, facing charges and nobody's really caring as much because he's not running.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is true. I mean, I think the only thing that could prevent him from that would make him drop out would be if he really thought he was going to lose again, and he hates to lose. Obviously he never admitted defeat from the 2020 election, even though he did lose, and I think he hates the idea of being a loser. That's why one of his biggest insults is to call people loser, and so. If the polls were really, really bad and he might say, I'm going to drop out just because there's no way they're going to let me have this, or they're going to steal it from me again, or he might make up some excuse to drop out. I don't think it will happen, but I think that's the only thing that could make him drop out, is something like that to prevent him from suffering another humiliating defeat. But when we come forward, I want to finally talk about this story about this law firm and some of the crazy things they said that made these two promising lawyers. They were so promising. They were going to start their own law firm and, fight for justice and not have to deal with this big law firm that they're a part of. And it comes crashing down because they are just, as it turns out, some of the most horribly racist people you can imagine. And so let's talk about this when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tina Turner's hometown to build a statue in her honor. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News. On May 24, news spread of the death of the queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner, who died at 83 years old. Turner's representatives say she died of natural causes after long illness. The mayor of Tina's hometown has since revealed plans to build a statue in honor of Turner. Bill Rawls Jr., mayor of Brownsville, reveals his hope to have the sculpture placed in Heritage Park near the high school Tina attended as a teenager. She was born in the same town in 1939. Rest in peace to the queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner. I'm Maisha Cairo for KBLA Talk 1580, and that's your K-Black Minute News.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com, or call 213-978-1845.
The Los Angeles Public Library proudly presents the June Jubilee inaugural event commemorating Juneteenth. Join us on June 10th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Central Library as we celebrate the rich Black culture in our city. This free event will include a special opening celebration featuring African drums procession and a libation ceremony at 9 a.m. along with speakers, workshops, live entertainment, and more for the whole family. Parking is only $1 with a validation. Learn more at lapl.org/Jubilee. That is lapl.org/JUBILEE.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it's the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. We're joined by Erica Times columnist Erica Smith, Erica with a K. And I have been looking forward to talking to you about this story all day. So... Okay, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing this law firm correctly. Lewis, and you can correct me if you know, or if you don't know, it's fine. Lewis, is it Brisbois, Bisgard, and Smith?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not positive.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. So Lewis, Brisbois, Bisgard, and Smith, one of the nation's largest law firms, they had two of their partners leave the firm. And they left the firm. John Barber one of the partners, John Barber, said, "We decided we didn't want to compromise anymore." And the other one, Jeff Rainin, recalled giving a rousing, quote-unquote, Jerry Maguire speech to convince colleagues to follow him out the door. So you have John Barber and Jeff Rainin, John and Jeff. John and Jeff leave the firm. They take 140 with an exclamation point, by the way. That's a lot of employees, even at a big law firm. And so, they have these remarks, oh, we didn't want to compromise anymore and come with us. And they end up, dealing, I guess, what it sounds from the outside looking in as a considerable blow to this law firm. And this is your colleague at the LA Times, Matt Hamilton, your colleagues, Matt Hamilton and Harriet Ryan. And they write, quote, "In an extraordinary move, the firm's management team directed the release of scores of emails in which Barber and Rainin used vile terms for women, black people, Armenians, Persians, and gay men, and traded in offensive stereotypes of Jews and Asians. In one fell swoop, the venerable firm managed to torpedo its new rival, destroy the defecting partners' careers, and send the legal establishment reeling," close quote. So basically you can just pick out any stereotype that you've ever heard, and these two guys are guilty of using it in an email, and not just at the water cooler, but in something that can be traced back to them. So some of the insults, they call the Superior Court judge sugar teas. I'm told I'm not allowed to use that word on the radio. I asked during the break, but sugar boobs, is what they call. They're calling a Superior Court judge that, and they called many female lawyers the C word. They use the F word, basically as an all-purpose insult, according to this article. Just to insult people who probably weren't even gay, just because the F word is considered to be an insult to people of the class of John and Jeff. An Asian job applicant was denigrated for the supposed size of his genitalia. So there's that stereotype that they just decided to throw in there without even knowing what that person's genitalia, the size of it was. And then Rainin dismissed another job candidate with, "How about someone who's not a Jew?" So, Erica, I just wanted to lay it out for everyone, just nice and clear. What was your response to or your thought when you saw this article?
I mean, I think a couple things. I think one, it's just further evidence of the language that people use in email and text messages that keep surfacing, whether it's, top-notch lawyers, whether it's police officers, whether it's, city council people. We never quite know, or maybe we should know, the language that people use behind closed doors on this. The other thing that was really striking is these two men, John and Jeff, were overseeing the employment law division. So they basically defend corporations from lawsuits over discrimination. So you have two guys who basically lead a law division while at this firm that basically would be, sued by somebody like them, who's, offending everybody, that they can think of. And so, I mean, it's just another reminder about, where we stand in this country as far as, as much progress has been made. We can't just go with what's out there in the public and what corporations say they're doing. There's people like John and Jeff probably in every organization. And they just, sometimes they get caught, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like there are people like this everywhere, and they're running the organizations that you probably know and love, and we don't even know that they're like this, and that's why diversity is so important. And one thing that your colleagues made a great point. They made a great point in saying, okay, the law firm outed them, and yeah, this obviously looks really bad for them for making all these comments, but doesn't it also look really bad on the law firm and on all their colleagues for not having called them out sooner? What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think somebody called it a self-own. I mean, this is a firm that released all these emails that have apparently gone back for years.
15 years.
After John and Jeff. Yeah, 15 years after John and Jeff had split to form their own firm. So, yeah, I mean, ethically, it made a lot of sense for the sake of transparency, so everybody could be aware of who these guys really are and what they said. But on the other hand, it's like, it was convenient that this only came out when the law firm that they left has something to gain by destroying John and Jeff's new legal venture. So, it speaks to, also another aspect of this, which is just how rampant this stuff is and how it, lays under the surface until something forces it into the light. And, I'm glad that it did, but it doesn't mean that there's not more of that kind of ickiness down there in organizations.
And just one comment that Barbara and Rainin, John and Jeff, they released a statement, and it said, "The last 72 hours have been the most difficult of our lives. As we have had to acknowledge and reckon with those emails, we are ashamed of the words we wrote, and we are deeply sorry." Oh, the last 72 hours have been the most difficult of our lives line. Yeah, it's so hard being outed for the horrible, virulent, racist, sexist, bigoted person you are. It's such a horrible, horrible thing to have to experience when you've probably been discriminating against people your whole life and have enjoyed the white privilege that you are using to move forward through life. And now it's horrible that someone finally found out that you are that horrible person. But Areva Smith of the LA Times, thank you so much for spending so much time with us and enlightening us about what's happening at the LA Times and your perspective on all of some of the most important stories in the country. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
And just real quickly, where can people follow you?
Twitter, probably still. I'm still on there. The best way. And that's yeah. Or Instagram, but probably Twitter at the moment. So.
And what's your handle?
It's Erika, ERIKA_D_Smith.
All right, Erika. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And when we come forward, it is going to be Robin Ayers and the Raw Report. Have yourself a great weekend. I'm Avi Bernard, and I am gone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In a brief I Said What I Said news conference, Special Counsel Jack Smith finally broke his silence and formally spoke about the indictment of former President Trump regarding Trump's handling of classified documents.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating